Well, hello everybody. Welcome to a little bit later of a early ending game. Game only went an hour and 55 minutes. That's perfect for me. But this is a little bit later of a stream because your lovely host forgot some of his podcast stuff, so he had to come home and do the stream. But this is the Missing Lynx post-game live stream podcast thing. I am Andrew Dukowitz from Sports Illustrated and Zone Coverage. We're a part of the Hitting the Hardwood Network. Probably should start plugging that more often. Awesome work that we're doing written wise over at the Hitting the Hardwood Network. And we have a basketball game to talk about. Title is the Antonia Delaere. Oh, hold on. I'm already botching it. Delaere. I believe it's Delaere. Delaere is how I have been explained. Her last name is actually pronounced Delaere game, which super far off from Delaere, and Delaere that I had been juggling throughout most of the season. Funny Tony story before we get too far into it. Sloan Martin, friend of the pod and lovely play-by-play voice for the Minnesota Lynx, asked Tony on one of the first days of training camp, how do we pronounce your name? And Tony kind of laughed at her and in a very sweet and joking way just said, "Don't worry about it. Just call me Tony because you're not going to pronounce it right anyways." And I have now heard from a couple people, one including someone that has quite a bit of authority in how that last name is pronounced, that it's Delaere is the phonetic way to spell it. And I have Googled for multiple minutes now, trying to make sure that's the way you say it. So Delaere, which not what I would have guessed. And I will be calling her that until I hear from Tony that I'm butchering it even more than I have been. But as Abby says in the chat, yes, it would appear that everybody has been butchering Tony's name her entire career here, which is only partially our fault. We did try to ask her what her name was. Again, name of the pod is the Delaere game because she was awesome. Doesn't play the entire first half, gets about 3 minutes in the third quarter, drills a three. Her and Hemzova were both in the game together. I'm guessing just to give the Lynx some sort of boost. It seemed like just vibes kind of came and went in this game for the Lynx. And then the fourth quarter, I mean, they don't win this game without Tony. She scores 9 out of the last 11 points. She hits 3 of her 4 3-point attempts. Even the one she missed looked like that thing was going in. And I mean, she gets a dime off of an Olivia Miles pass for 3. She gets a kick out from Fee for 3. She, again, from about the 4:30 mark in the game to when Olivia Miles kind of hit that layup at the end, the last Lynx basket, Tony was all that was working for them on offense, which, I mean, shout out to her. I wrote about her last week and just her odd path to the WNBA where, I mean, let's be honest, it's you look at Tony and in her U16 play in Belgium, she scored 8 points a game, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. When she was playing in the Belgian league, 8 points, about 3 rebounds, about 3 assists. When she went to Spain, France, EuroLeague, and Turkey, you guessed it, she scored about 8 points a game, 3 rebounds, and about 3 assists. And if you look at her per 36 minutes kind of numbers for the Lynx this year, she's at just about 8 points a game, little over 2.5 rebounds and about 4 assists, which, I mean, to make it to the WNBA and be effective by building an entire career off of being just a rock solid role player and glue player is just, I mean, it's one of the cooler paths to getting to the WNBA I've covered in my 5 years doing media basketball stuff. It's just, you don't think of like the 5th best player on the Belgian national team as someone that's going to win the Lynx a basketball game in the home stretch of a potentially championship season. But like, that's just who she is. And talking to Fee about it after the game, I hadn't really been able to talk to Fee a lot about Tony, but I mean, Fee wasn't surprised. She's like, we tell Tony to shoot more if we're going to be honest, but like she's just calming and she understands what she's doing. Cheryl echoed the same thing. I mean, it's one of the cooler kind of moments, I think, of this season. And when you look at this Lynx team, I mean, Court got benched for this to happen. And don't tell Courtney Williams she got benched, because she was out there celebrating on the bench like it was game 7 of the finals and they were about to clinch a championship. And it's one of those things that always shocks me with the Lynx of just, you take your starting point guard and you say, hey, you're going to sit on the bench for the last 6 minutes of a game that we kind of need to win. I mean, 12 out of the last 16 games in this home stretch are against playoff caliber teams. Even the games that aren't, I mean, it's like Portland, Toronto is fine, and Connecticut's probably the one throwaway game, but like they also have a game against the Sparks. Like they were doing pretty well against the Aces for most of that game. It's not just a throwaway team. They kind of needed this one. And again, for Cheryl to look at Court and say, hey, it's not your night. You're going to sit, and we're going to give a 31-year-old rookie career role player from Belgium the opportunity to win us a game where she's getting kick out passes from Fee and swing passes from Liv and just daggering threes. Then on the other end, playing pretty darn good defense. Like, these are the games where covering the Lynx, it's just special, because I don't think there's more than 2 or 3 teams in the league that could do something like that. Like, I couldn't imagine the Aces just saying like, hey, Jackie Young or Chelsea Gray, you're sitting. Like, good luck. I couldn't imagine seeing New York saying like, hey, Sabrina, you're on the bench for this one. You're being ineffective. Like, Courtney Williams is made back-to-back All-Star games, and she gets benched the game out of the All-Star. Like, it's kind of incredible the buy-in they have. And then you see after the game, I asked Liv about it, where Liv is saying like, she's one of the best teammates I've ever had, referring to Courtney Williams, that, you know, she's a role model for Olivia Miles, which Liv did joke that some of the off the court stuff, maybe not so much, but like the professionalism to take that the right way and understand, hey, this is the greater good that we kind of speak about all the time. Tony, I think, gets a huge shout out for this game, because again, coming in cold as a shooter and just hitting 4 of 5 and 3 to win the game is incredible. But then also, like, shout out to Court, because there's other teams, there's other players that if they got benched in a situation like that, they are just like, you lose them, which, you know, Julius Randle no longer on the Wolves, but a lot of Wolves fans were saying all season, why doesn't Julius just get benched? Because he doesn't have this same makeup that Courtney Williams does, where Court is just, hey, happy to do it. I'm going to be a world-class teammate on the bench, scream for my teammates, and then after the game, do the chest bump with Kayla McBride and get ready for the next one, which a couple people have joked on Twitter that T scored like 33 or something in Seattle's game. So maybe Courtney's going to go out and score 40 the next time. But again, just the professionalism to understand like this is what the team needs tonight is wild. Like, again, me being in my 30s, if someone were to even at this stage in my life say, hey, you're not covering this game, we're gonna let the 19-year-old college kid that's writing for zone coverage cover the game, you can do it from home, I'd probably feel a certain way, even if it was a little bit better. But yeah, it's just shout out to her, which I'm glad the chat is also saying Court's great, gift to humanity, terrible game, but gonna cry when she retires. I honestly, like, I haven't had a ton of players retire in the 5 years that I've been covering Minnesota basketball, but like, it is just, it's weird for media, just like it's weird for fans, because like Joe Ingles is never going to play another NBA game. That means I'm probably never going to talk to Joe Ingles again, a guy that I saw 4 or 5 times a week for 2 years, it's weird. Just like for fans, it's weird because players retire and often just kind of go into, their post-retirement work and you never really hear from them. It's really weird how sports retirements are. My guess, if I had to put money on it, is that Courtney Williams is going to retire and we're going to see her on the TV a lot. I think she just has a personality that if she wants to do like coaching or post-game shows or pre-game shows or sideline reporting, like whatever she's going to do, my guess is there's going to be some sort of media accompanying it. Amanda says Court's a gift to humanity. Do agree. Honestly, like the stud buds in general, I think are one of the brighter spots that humanity has going right now. But that's probably enough of Tony and Court for a almost 11:20 podcast. Saw quite a few people bringing up Ola in the chat, so I will address that. I'll be completely honest. We didn't ask about Ola in the post game presser. Cheryl was pretty brief with some of her answers. Like I think she was. This is a win where I think film day tomorrow is going to be a tough one for the Lynx. There is a lot of defensive just issues where, Maybury is getting an inbound pass and taking it for a layup on the other end, or Maybury's getting a outlet pass off of a miss and the hustle back to guard her, whether it was from Dorka or Court or whoever, wasn't necessarily Lynx-esque. Again, my guess is film study tomorrow is not going to be great. Didn't ask about Dorka or Ola. I do have that kind of tentatively in the back of my mind to ask on Saturday when they get back in, of just, she's fallen out of the rotation for 2 games now. I would assume she's not going to play in Toronto. I tend to think it's more related to the Lynx want to see what Dorka can bring. It's still a relatively small sample size. I think after tonight, she's at like 130, 140 minutes played so far over 6 games. You probably want to see a little bit more of what she can bring. You kind of know what Ola can do. Like she's going to bring effort. She's going to bring toughness. She's going to bring muscle, athleticism. The defense is going to be on point and the offense is going to be at least like, it'll make sense. Like she's not going to turn the ball over or anything like that at too high of a clip. Dorka is the unknown right now of, if let's say another 5 games go by and Dorka logs another 100 minutes or 20 minutes a night, or even 15 a night over the next 5 or 6 games. If it doesn't improve for Dorka, I kind of anticipate that it'll probably go back to Kosu, and maybe that, 6'5" center is a much bigger need for the Lynx. But it's definitely been interesting. Like, I'll be completely honest. I would have liked to see a little bit of Dorka tonight. I understand the size stuff with, Fegmenley is a very tall human being. Maybe it would make sense to see what you can get out of Dorka in a game where she's playing against a very talented big, because that's where her biggest value, I think, is going to be for this team. I guess, again, 5 minutes for Ola, I think would have been fun, but at the same time, that's probably 5 minutes you're taking away from Nia or from Tosh, who only played 28 minutes, or from Dorka, who played 14. So I'm not going to be super concerned about it. Now, if it's the end of the season and Ola has strung together like 14 consecutive DNPs, I think then there's, hey, why did she fall out of the roster fall out of the rotation despite, her giving the team really good minutes for a majority of the season? Then I think we can start guessing at, like, is it something off the court? Is it a schematic thing? Is it attention to detail? Like, what have you? But I think as for now, it's more of just trying to see what they can get from Dorka, because they know Kosu's what she can bring them this year, which, again, I don't necessarily disagree with. I think especially the next week as trade deadline comes to a close and over the next week and a half as like roster deadline set times show up, you really got to see if Dorka can give you 15 minutes. Because if she can't, I think more than a point guard, more than anything, getting that 6'4", 6'5" big that can stand up or can stand up with Asia or at least like get fouls and play like be an asset, I think that becomes priority A. If it's not Dorka, which again, it's unfortunate because the numbers and I tweeted it out. So if people want to go and like look at kind of how bad it has been, I mean, Dorka's defensive rating is 7 points worse than the Lynx as a team. Like, I don't, sure, some of that is small sample size, but also like it's not like they were playing just playoff team after playoff team over those 6 games. It's been kind of middling opponents. The shooting stuff has really struggled from 3 especially. I think it's fair to see what you have, and if it isn't, like if she doesn't have a good game against Toronto on Thursday and she struggles against Indiana on Sunday, maybe she's the player that the Lynx are kind of dangling out there to see what, what's available on the trade market. Because I think Dorka is an appealing prospect still. It's just kind of unfortunate that this is how the return has been after such a good Euro season and so much kind of promise and hype around it, which, I mean, I guess that's unfortunately, what do they say? Like that's why they play the games. Abby brought up just the Kosu sitting, if it's panic, trade speculation. Like, I don't think it's trade speculation. I tend to think if someone were to get traded from this team, I think it would be much more likely a Dorka or a Maya type player where, you have your top 6 players. I'd be pretty stunned if they traded any of them, the 5 starters and Nia. Maya, with the Emma injury exemption, with the cap room that they have, like you could get a player making about $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 for Maya. Dorka, you could get a little bit higher salaried player. If you included both of them, you could get near $1 million salaried player. You'd still have to sign 2 vet minimums on the back end. Sorry, I'm just picking at something on my mic if there was a little bit of picking noises, but I tend to think those are the players that if you're the Lynx, maybe you're okay with them going out in a trade to try and upgrade the roster. But also I'll be honest with everyone. Like, I don't think they need to touch that top 6 player rotation. Like, I think the 5 starters, like those 5 are all-star caliber players that should be starting. I think Nia is one of the best 6 players in the league. She's invaluable to this team from a culture standpoint. So if you're going for a trade, it's more of like, how can we upgrade Dorka from 2K will bring that up. Like, Dorka's a 74 overall rated center. How can we get from a 74 to a 77 so that we feel a little bit better? Maya, is there a way we can trade her and get a little bit more consistency and safety and ball handling? I really don't think there's going to be a splash this year. And that being said, that's what makes me think that Ola isn't necessarily a likely person getting sent out, because I think you can look at this team now as having 2 kind of timelines, right? Of like, you have the K-Mac, Court, Tosh, Nia timeline of like players on the other side of 30 that are, have 2 to 4 years left of good basketball before they start tailing off a little bit. And then you have the young players of Olivia, Lisa, I think I would throw in there. She's proven that she's at least something in the WNBA. Ola, Emma Chikova. Like, you have that group of 4 that are like the young kind of next iteration if they can develop them. And then you have Fee as like the 29-year-old that bridges the gap. That's just the all-world player. I don't think they would sacrifice the future to win now. Like, obviously, if it's like the Sparks call and they're like Ola, Maya, and Dorka, and we'll give you Kelsey Plum. Like, you're probably accepting that and figuring it out, but I'm just not really I'm just not really seeing a need to mess with that top six. I think pound for pound, that's the best lineup in the league on the best team in the league. Katie brings up little disappointed with the defense, didn't improve more post All-Star. We can't play that kind of defense against the Fever. Absolutely, completely, 100% agree. If they play that way against the Fever, it's probably going to end like 137 to 135. The transition stuff was really tough, even though the Tempo only got 10 points in fast break. The defensive rebounding was really rough. They've had some really weird, like, even the like set half court defense was really rough tonight. They did string together from about the 4.5-minute mark in the first quarter to the end of the second quarter, a really solid stretch of defense. And then it just kind of disappeared again, which, the players will be pretty honest about it, of like, we need to lock in, communicate better, and have better attention to detail. That's a hard thing to just turn the flip on or turn the switch on come playoffs, though. I do think some of it is Dorka. Like, she's been pretty rough on defense, and you can kind of see when she's the low man, players aren't necessarily as eager to leave their matchups. I guess I'd phrase it that way. I think some of it is Fee coming back. Like, everybody's trying to get used to that, but like, that's just a 2-game sample size with Fee. It's something I will be watching as probably my biggest concern for this team, because offensively, I don't know what you do. Like, tonight, Fee didn't have a great game. Court didn't have a great game, but like K-Mac, Liv, Tosh, and Tony off the bench just, I mean, they kind of blew the doors off of the Tempo. I know it got close at the end and Tempo were hitting some shots, but like, the offense isn't the issue for this team. It's really just the defense locking in, which is very weird to say after the last 2 years of Lynx basketball. I'm going to keep going through chat because I'm having fun answering questions. So feel free to keep shooting stuff over, but I am going to throw us over to a quick ad read before we come back. Well, hello. Thank you, Livestream Andrew. This is Ad Read Andrew. And today we have Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, the presenting sponsor for the Missing Lynx podcast. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling strives to inspire people to follow their ideas, working with respect and understanding to create a quality, tailored result. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, located in Blaine and serving in the North Metro area, is here to help you with your building and remodeling needs. I can say personally, thanks to Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, I have a beautiful deck in my backyard and countless projects that I started, they finished. Get started on your new deck or remodel today by calling Isaac at 763-710-5686. And we're back with another ad read, this time for Pence Homes, the presenting sponsor of Hitting the Hardwood Network. From the best tools and technology to transparency throughout the entire process, Nate Pence and the Pence Homes team is the top choice for buyers, sellers, and is proud to support you and your home ownership goals. Get started today by calling 612-308-1122 or by emailing info@pencehomes.com. V. Marie says Court is still getting the alcohol out of her system. I did talk to her at shoot around, and before the camera started, I was like, "You good?" And she's like, "Always good." So I don't know how that woman is standing after the 72 hours she put herself through, but credit to her. Jude adds they have had Dorka in some weird matchups. I don't disagree. They have been some weird matchups is a good way to say it. Like, it's not like they haven't been putting her in like a position to succeed. It's just been like, she's guarding the 4 and Tasha's out there guarding the 5 still. It's been interesting. Andrew says yo yo yo, so yo 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 to you as well, sir. Ken brings up, and a couple people have brought up Maria Kluindikova from last year. So she is technically under contract with the Toronto Tempo. They own her rights. She opted not to play this season in the WNBA. That doesn't mean she can't play, but she basically did what Dorka did last season, where Dorka was like, hey, I'm not playing. Theoretically, the Lynx have the salary cap. Could they send Maya Hirsch, the player that they have the trade rights to, and a 3rd round pick to Toronto, and Masha just shows up here in a week? Like, theoretically, they could do that. They certainly have enough cap space to absorb her salary, and you do have to send something player wise out in a trade. So it would have to be one of the like rights that they have from a draft. I think Hirsch is the only one that I know of that they currently have, unless they have some other players, but I think that's definitely something they're probably talking about. What I've heard just being around WNBA spaces is that Masha's just enjoying an off season and being a mom. And, last year was kind of the first year that she had stayed in the United States for an entire WNBA season. So I think she's been enjoying her time away, but it's one of those things that I wouldn't be surprised if that's a move they make. I know Cheryl had been in contact with Masha all throughout the offseason, getting insight on Ola and just kind of talking about, life. Team genuinely really liked her. She was a really kind of like fun character person to have around. She was really goofy, dove for loose balls. Like I think she was a fun teammate. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if she ends up showing up. Katie says Cheryl has said the Lynx are open for business. I can't see us trading starters plus Nia and Maya. Maya and Tony seem like solid for their contributions. Only targets CS trading are Kosu and Dora. That's kind of where I'm at. Like, I think they really like Tony behind the scenes. Like, she is a professional, like we started off the top with. She's a professional role player. She knows she's not going to be the star. She works her tail off behind the scenes. She stays late with like Liatu and Maya after every practice to do shooting drills and work out with them. Like, I think she is like a character 100 out of 100 type player, and you're not going to get value back for that because no one on the outside of this organization is going to look at her kind of slash lines and be like, that's the missing piece. She's not young enough to be appealing for like a developing team that hasn't had her in building. I think I'm not going to say like untouchable, but like she's I would be pretty stunned if she got sent out. Kosu, I'd be pretty stunned just because I know how high they are on her behind the scenes. But if the price is right, I could see them moving her. Maya and Dorka, I think, are the two. But again, Maya has strung together some pretty good games. So maybe they're feeling better with Maya. Nicole asked in the chat, what do you think about the fee trade discussion happening? I will be, from my stance as a beat reporter covering the team, I have heard nothing whatsoever about a Napheesa Collier trade. I don't think that's on the table at all. I don't think the team is considering it. I think, Cheryl answered a question to me yesterday. God, it was already yesterday about, I just kind of asked, like, you do have that open development spot with Alishka being on the 7-day contract, and you still have the Emma decision, or the Emma contract decision. Like, what is this trade deadline going to look for you guys? And Cheryl was pretty honest about, they've been open for business all season. They're going to be looking for additions at the trade deadline, which, like, I'm just going to be blunt. They have to make an addition at the trade deadline. If they either have to sign Alishka for the rest of the season and just leave a development spot open, which seems like malpractice, especially when you can just bring in any player and have them in the building and get a look at them. And if you're not replacing Emma and that salary slot at this point in the season, that as well as like cap flexibility malpractice. Like, I promise you, A-Rod and Lori do not care about spending $270,000 extra dollars to potentially get 7 games of finals television revenue in a parade. Like, they have to make something at this trade deadline or the free agency afterwards. Now, about the fee side of it, I reading Annie's article this morning, and I have a lot of respect for Annie. She's been always very kind to me when I've met her over the years. I think she was mentioning, hey, Kelsey Plum is on a 1-year deal. Sounds like she's not coming back. Fee is on a 1-year deal. We don't know what her future is. Teams are going to call, which, again, every team in the league should at least call. If you're the GM of Portland and you're not calling Minnesota to at least see, that, again, is like GM malpractice. That all being said, I mean, I kind of explained it to a couple of people earlier today of like, this is the reverse Kawhi Leonard trade, where Toronto felt they had a really good championship caliber roster. They traded for Kawhi Leonard on a 1-year deal, knowing that this season we are going to have a really good chance to win a ring. And if he leaves in the offseason, hey, we had a really good chance at a ring. They ended up winning the championship. Kawhi ended up leaving. And I think the NBA sphere can judge that in numerous ways. They can say you gave away DeMar DeRozan and you gave away assets for somebody that won you 1 championship and left. Just like if the Lynx win the championship and Fee signs with Golden State, there's going to be people that are saying like you could have gotten a haul for Fee, but then you also might not win a championship. I think the worst case scenario would be Fee walks and goes somewhere else and they lose the championship. But that's like, you need to know the future. I think right now, as we're sitting here, I don't know. You have, over the last 2 years, you have 5 all-stars in your starting lineup. That's, I think I would take the bet and keep Fee on the team and get a really good shot at another championship versus just selling her and punting it down the road. And I think also, like, from a vibes perspective, like, K-Mac and Court legitimately love Fee. If you just mid-season traded that, I think there's a very good chance that that goes really poorly in the locker room. Like, again, you're trying to sell Olivia Miles on playing for the Lynx for the next 20 years. Modern medicine, I'm just assuming people are going to play in their 50s. I don't think you can trade Fee and also sell Liv that, like, hey, this is a place where we're going to do everything to win the championship every year. That's just my take. I would just reiterate, I have heard nothing about an in-season deal. Honestly, since Olivia's been awesome, I'm not hearing anything about Fee leaving. I'm not hearing anything about Golden State chasing. What I would say is I would encourage Fee to go get the free plane rides and private jets and free steak dinners and whatever else these teams do to woo superstars. But like, if Fee really is focused on winning and happiness, it seems like they're winning a lot of games here and everyone's pretty happy. That's just my take. But again, just to tie a bow on it, I think that unfortunately in the writing business, a lot of times writers don't get to pick the titles of their articles. And I am guessing Annie, without talking to her, I would guess that Annie meant that piece more as Plum has this situation going on. Fee is in a similar situation, so I expect teams to reach out and target it, especially with Cheryl saying we're open for business. That would be a very insane decision to trade her. I'm going to catch up on a little bit of chat here because I spent a little bit too long on that. Amanda says it's clickbait. The title was very clickbaity and it got me to click on it. So, Dorka and Fee change the minutes. Ola and Nia too early to be overly concerned. Team is adjusting to being full strength. Completely agree. V Marie. Katie adds Maya as one of the best defenders and one of the only people giving Mac release. Yep, that's the case for keeping her. She's full court press. Honestly, the game on Sunday against the Fever, that's going to be the magnum opus of why Maya Caldwell is important, because she's probably going to play 10 to 15 minutes. And I would anticipate every second she's on the floor, she is full court pressing Caitlin and just making her life as difficult as possible. McKinney says Annie's article seemed to be a lame attempt to write about something besides CC and the Fever. I think I give her more credit for that, because Annie is like a really good like writer and journalist. I really think it was more trying to hammer home the Kelsey Plum situation and then saying, here are some other players that might be worth keeping an eye on, which she's not wrong. Again, like, teams are going to call on Fee. I would assume at least teams call on Asia, which Abby brings up Dorka for Asia, who says no. Like, if I was a GM, like, why not call the Aces once a week and be like, so you want to trade Asia, and then get hung up on and then do it the next week. Katie adds, Fee trade rumors are crazy. Cheryl just recently said this is still very much Fee's team. Yep. Completely agree. John adds, I feel like Cheryl's just going to sign someone from overseas, brings up Masha. That's honestly, again, Van Loo is still unemployed, played with Tony in Belgium. Emma Meesman is always someone's name who gets brought up for this. Like, it's just one of those things that I think the Lynx have really scouted overseas players well. And I wouldn't be surprised if that is what happens. Like, they sign a buyout player and then they get someone from overseas that they feel like can contribute. Let's see here. McKinney says Max out there playing like she's 26. Yup, no notes. Let's Turn says no one was rebounding tonight. Yeah, rough rebounding game. They finished with 31, but at one point, I think it was towards the end of the first quarter, they had 2 defensive rebounds in like 9 minutes. Like, just not ideal. Gene O'Brien says, won't it take some time to mesh all of this? Yes. And that's, I'm writing a fee piece for Wednesday, but I think for this weekend, that's something I'm going to write about, is just like, if the Lynx do add 2 players at the deadline, or if they trade someone for someone else and then they add 2 people, like, historically speaking, adding, like, if they were to trade Maya for somebody and sign 2 free agents to get to their full roster, that would be like 5 new players in a 12-player roster. Like, historically, that's just not something that ends well for teams. I mean, it does take time to gel and figure out rosters. I would, again, if they make a trade, I think that is a risk of how fast can we gel basically half a team together, which they gelled 9 new players together at the beginning of the season. So I guess stranger things have happened, but, interesting to say the least. Let's see here. Kenneth Ward says headline writer did Annie wrong. Yes. Yes, that's kind of my only overall take. Jude adds Kelsey Mitchell is on a 1 year. So is Jackie Young. There's a lot of players that only signed 1-year deals. I mean, we could start a rumor tomorrow that like Jackie Young is going to be targeted at the trade deadline, and the Aces are looking to make moves to improve their roster, and none of that would be false, but would kind of suck for the Aces. Again, I don't think that's what Annie did, but like, it's an unfortunate thing because there is so much weird kind of, I don't know if like aura or like maybe like a weird taste in the mouth from this off season where Fee was kind of non-committal, but I'll be honest. Knowing Fee the little I do and knowing what she has said is valuable to her, I don't know how you would look at this Lynx team and be like, yeah, I'm out. That'd be interesting. Dustin adds not trading Fee no matter what you get. That's a no win. Amanda says Dejanay is healed up now. Yeah, I think she technically is. I don't know if she's set to play like this weekend healed up, but she's been practicing. That's another player, honestly. Like if Dejanay gets bought out, which I don't think is unheard of, I think Chicago might be buying out a couple players at the deadline. I mean, Natasha Cloud's kind of getting to the end of her career. Does she want to waste another playoffs or waste a playoffs not being in it with Chicago? The whole Skylar Diggins thing, I mean, that would be a tough one for Chicago to swallow because it's a lot of money over multiple years. But like, I don't know how tenable that situation is. Like, Sloot, does she want to waste another year not being in the playoffs? And then Dejanay, she hasn't played all season. So if she could, let's say the Lynx call them up and they say, we'll give you the contract of Maya Hirsch and a second round pick for Dejanay, like, why wouldn't you do that if you're Chicago? Like, you're not going anywhere this season. It's just, I think she's an interesting one. Katie wants Masha because proven gel player. Agreed. Gene shooting down Dejanay a little bit. I'm going to catch up on chat one more time here before we get to an outro, but Dustin is bringing up Masha's rights and how it might be pretty reasonable to get it. I agree with you. I think, again, if you're Toronto, you hold Masha's rights, but you only have a year of her. So like if Masha doesn't play in the WNBA this season, they have her rights for next season. And if she says, go kick rocks, I'm not going to play in 2027, then they have her rights for 2028. But like you have her for 1 year. So like if Masha is like, hey, I'm not going to play in 2027, does it make sense for Toronto to just hold a player's rights for no value? Or would it make more sense to get a third or a second round pick for it? Like if there is a world where Masha wants to play in the W, like I wouldn't see why Toronto would say no, because right now that asset is kind of nothing. And at least if you got a pick, it's something. And Masha, well, we all love her here in Minnesota, has never played a game for Toronto. It just, kind of why hold on to that asset if you get a trade for it, which my guess is that they haven't been getting offers for her. I mean, up until last season with the Lynx, she never really strung together much of a WNBA career. So again, reasonable that the Lynx would be interested. Nicole says, I don't think Fee would leave with the Lynx not getting anything for it. I don't think she's going to leave. Like I'll put it that way. Again, just the 1 year contract last year when you were getting a rookie point guard and 80% of the roster is turned over. Like I get that, because there is a world where there's an alternate universe where Olivia Miles is having a having a struggle for a rookie season. And this team is like 500 and the vibes aren't as good. And in that world, is Fee looking at it like Golden State's roaring right now and I would be the number one star player and get to live in the Bay? Probably. I think that's a realistic alternate universe. However, we live in the universe where Olivia Miles is like second in MVP voting and they have 4 all-stars. Like I would not that I would feel like aghast if he ended up leaving, but I would kind of raise my eyebrows of like, okay, it might not have only been about winning. There might have been other things going on. Um Okay, I know I said that was the last catch up here, but Jude, we are not in the next year's cap squeeze as much of the other contenders. Correct. Um, it's interesting looking at next year because if the revenue, like the revenue sharing that they have set up based off of like my internet googling research of like what TV contracts are going to be, it would seem that the cap's going to go up like three or $4 million, and there's only like 5 players on percentage increased contracts. The Lynx don't have any of those players. It's like Stewie, Sab, Asia, and I think there's 1 or 2 others. So like if that's the case, no one's going to be in cap hell. Everyone's going to have like $4 million that they just got fallen into their lap, and the new players are going to have different contracts and structures, and the vet minimum will go up, all that yada yada yada. But like if the cap stays the same, you look at this team and it's like K-Mac, Court, Nia, and Tosh are all signed for next season, and Olivia Miles and Ola are on rookie contracts, and Emma, Alishka, and Tony, they'll have the restricted rights to, as well as Maya. Like that's a good place to be in. Even if he decided to walk, like you have a ton of money still free that you can go out and take a big swing on. You essentially would have max contract money, which then it's like, hey, who was watching this from outside last season and wants to have some fun? Like, you know, again, I think I would not expect the Lynx to lose Napheesa Collier, but it's not like they're going to just be like floundering in the water without her. Dustin adds, really good players left. Agreed. Ryan just says, what about the defense? Looks a little concerning. I think that's as I said off the top of the pod, like I think that's honestly that's where I am most concerned with this team, because their offense, I feel like, has been repeatable enough and has been so darn good, even when players are having an off night, that like they're going to be a threat to put up 100 points a game against anyone. I mean, Golden State, we're going to get a good look at that. We'll get a good look at New York coming to the close of the season. Like, I think this offense is going to be able to do this against everybody. Their defense, however, has just looked kind of sloppy, for lack of a better term. Like the fast break stuff tonight where it's just inbound pass to Mabry and she's streaking down the floor, and it's like, well, she's kind of the main person you got to keep an eye on this team. The defensive rebounding stuff, like, yes, long rebounds happen, but some of them were just people not finding a player to box, and that ball would just careen off, and everyone was kind of looking at it, which those are the things that I'm sure made Cheryl a little testy tonight. And like I said, her post game press conference was a little brief, and my guess is that film is going to be rough tomorrow. Dustin asks, can developmental players play in the playoffs? I have not heard that they can. I believe developmental players are kind of like two ways in the NBA, where unfortunately you can sign them to a roster spot, which again, maybe the maybe the like, don't think too hard about it, stupid answer to this is they sign Alishka to a contract. They sign another developmental player, kind of like they did with Jalen Sherrod last season. Jude adds, no, they cannot play in the playoffs. So yes, no, we're on the same page. They got Jalen Sherrod in here on kind of a developmental look last year where she didn't play a ton of minutes. Maybe that's just the simple answer is Alishka's done enough to earn that spot. They sign her to the main roster. They sign a developmental player to back her up. And then they use the Emma salary slot to just sign again, like people were mentioning in the chat, someone from overseas, someone from Euro, and they just, go that route, which I don't think that would be a bad route. Again, unless Dorka is unplayable, I don't really think they have like just gaping holes on their roster. Alishka has been, I think, serviceable enough to where, if let's say Court is out for 3 games, I think they feel fine with Maya, Alishka being kind of the backup point guards, quote unquote. I again, unless Dorka is just a non-factor, I don't think it's. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like, hey, bring in Julie Van Loo and sign Alishka to the main roster, sign some random 23-year-old as a development prospect, and then let's see what it looks like. Because again, it's I know the super team thing I brought up earlier. Like looking at this starting lineup coming out, and it's like between the last 2 years, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 all-star appearances from these 5 players. Like, I don't know. They're looking pretty good. I'm going to wrap it there though. We're at 50 minutes. I appreciate us doing a little bit of a, a Q&A question here. Gene, I did see your comments. Thank you for the kind words. And also, that's why I wanted to do this. I feel like Lynx fans deserve a post-game something, whether it's like a TV show or a podcast or a live stream or something. Like after fun games, you should have a place to decompress with a community that also enjoys the same thing you do. And after miserable games, you should have a place that you can go and vent to. Every other sports league in the world seems to have that for every team. The WNBA should have them as well. And I'm just happy people are enjoying it because it's been a very fulfilling. Yeah, I think I would say fulfilling. It's been like a fulfilling thing of like taking a bet that Lynx fans are going to show up if given the content to show up for, and y'all have done that. So thank you so much for tuning into this. Will be posted as a podcast tomorrow at 7 a.m. If you want to listen to it at now midnight, it does go up as a live stream recording on YouTube and X as soon as I end the stream. We will be back Thursday after that Toronto game, but everyone have a great evening, be safe, and we'll catch you on Thursday.